Looking down through some of the things that are coming up on the super schedule, we got a big one coming up next week. First time ever at the Music City Speedway is the name of the track. It's actually based on Nashville. It's a short track there in Nashville, Tennessee. It'll be our first time there, so we're excited to be going there. And then we've got the Independence Day Twin 35s here to Swego to round out our June schedule. So you want to check that out as well. Tonight, as we said, this race honoring Jim Shampine, but we've got some other important stuff to talk about, and we want to welcome to the broadcast now, all the way from England. A lot of you Supermodified fans have not been around other than to maybe know who Donald Davidson was at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and some of the great English drivers that have competed there and won, including Graham Hill and Dan Weldon. But we've got the guy that founded GridFinder in the broadcast here tonight. We're excited to have him in to talk about this fantastic website and business that he started during the pandemic. And I want to welcome you to the broadcast right now. Tom Bunten, welcome in, buddy. I hope that you're ready for this rock and roll ride through American short track racing. Glad to have you on the broadcast.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Tom, when you think we look at what GridFinder is, and we've been around for 17 years now, and you know when you think you've been around that long, you might think you've seen and done it all. Well, when GridFinder popped up, it was something completely new. We'd never seen anything like this before, and it really, when I stop to think about it as co-founder SUPRS, I look back, I go, boy, that would have been easy, 17 years ago. But now this is so awesome that you can find your place on the grid at gridfinder.com. How did you come up with this idea?
Well, I think you just touched on it there. The best ideas are the simplest, right? So I can't say that I've been sim racing for 17 years. That's absolutely mental, and it's awesome that this community has been going for that long. I haven't heard of any community that's been going longer, and more specifically, has stayed on the same platform, i.e., R Factor. Like, there's no move to R Factor 2. It's staying on R Factor. I think it's pretty cool. How did I come up with the idea? Well, I was looking for a league myself. I was looking for an F1 2020 league. I couldn't find one. Um, so I put out a message on Facebook, and you've probably seen them all the time. People saying, "I'm looking for a league," and then you get loads of links to leagues, and you click on the link and you join the league, and you find out that actually you're a console racer and it's on PC, or the person that's contacted you is actually based in New Zealand, so your time zones might not work out so well. So I figured, well, why isn't there a list of leagues where you can filter your requirements and then find all the leagues that suit exactly what you're looking for? So I started it with an aim of kind of getting 15 to 20 Formula One leagues on my little Wix site. But by Christmas, I think we had over 600, and we've now got over 1,300 leagues listed on it. The site has now completely been rebuilt from the ground up by a fantastic developer and director, Chris. And yeah, it's growing at a crazy rate. But yeah, I think you said it best first off, that it's just a simple idea. 17 years ago, it would have been easy to do, and I think I'm just quite lucky that 17 years later, nobody had thought to do it. I think I only did this about 6 months ago.
What has been the biggest change that you've had to implement since you first came up with the idea?
Ooh, what a question! Biggest change? Hmm. I think I think the scale of our ambition is the biggest thing that's changed. So to start with, the idea was it was just going to be a league directory, but you can see now, and you've actually seen a lot more than other people because you were in the beta. But you can see now that there's a lot more features, especially with the broadcasters and the paint shop. Um, I can't give too much away, but the next thing that we'll be delivering will be our league manager feature, where you can actually manage your league and your drivers and your results tables, etc., all through Grid Finder. Now you've had a little sneak peek of that, and we're just kind of finessing it in the background before we then launch it out to all the leagues. So I think that the biggest change we've adapted to is realizing how much extra stuff we can do with this platform, and just trying to manage our expectations as to what we can achieve in the time we've got, because we're just sim racers. We have other 9 to 5 jobs, and then in the evenings and weekends we try and sim race as well as develop this site.
Tom, where do you see it going? I mean, you've seen a huge growth in sim racing. We have too, through the pandemic and everybody being locked down at home, and things are getting back to normal, at least here in the United States. But where do you see it going? Is it going to continue to increase? Is it going to find a spot where it dies off a little bit and plateaus? How do you feel about the whole situation?
Well, the numbers that I'm seeing on a daily basis would not indicate a slowdown. If anything, there's a marginal increase. So, there's probably other factors involved. So, the site is getting more and more well known, and I see quite a lot. Actually, it's quite cool. Sometimes when I'm going through social media, the somebody looking for a league, and then somebody else who I've never met, I don't know who they are, will then recommend Grid Finder. So that's always been quite cool. But no, the amount it's getting used is increasing steadily, and the amount of new leagues that are popping up are also increasing. So I don't know. I don't see a slowdown. I think a lot of people will assume that after we come out of our global lockdown and once the pandemic and the symptoms of the pandemic subside, then perhaps we'll see less people sim racing. But actually, I think the opposite has happened. During the pandemic, you seem to have had lots and lots of people discover it, and a decent proportion of those people have then become hooked, more so than would have been the case were there not, say, a pandemic that required everyone to stay indoors. So I kind of see it as a springboard rather than a hump in the road, if that makes sense. I think this will be the start of a faster growth of sim racing over the next few years.
Well, Tom, I tell you, it's impressive. Just since we first caught wind of it on Race Department, who's now one of your partners, I mean, we were blown away. We saw something initially that was like, wow. Like I said, we've seen a lot. We've seen a lot of Johnny come latelys and a lot of come and go. But this is something that is just there's this definite need, and I've seen your community grow, and I think it's one of the most fantastic things to be able to talk to somebody, from England that I probably wouldn't ever be exposed to, and that's the great thing about sim racing, I think, and I hope that this continues to build leagues that'll stick around for a while, and even though they may go through some growing pains, your system would seem to be able to match drivers almost perfectly to what they want to race. And I think that's what will make great sim racers and great sim racing sanctions or leagues. And I applaud you, man. I think it's fantastic what you've done.
Oh, thank you very much. I mean, that's the idea. That's kind of the baseline idea is that when I was looking for leagues, I saw some really big leagues that had managed to get to the top of Google over time with their paid ads and their websites, etc. But some people who are passionate about sim racing and want to form their own communities don't necessarily have the money, the time, or the know-how to make one of these websites and make it SEO friendly and get it to the top of Google. So it's very difficult for them to compete with the big leagues. Whereas if you have one single directory that all the leagues can be listed on, and people are filtering not by the size of the leagues and kind of how long they've been around, but instead they're just filtering by what they need, then the leagues that are just a couple of weeks old with a couple of passionate sim racers at the helm that are giving it a go, they will appear next to the big leagues.
Well, that speaks to our heart for sure. Because even after 17 years, we're still a pretty small league. We've got 15 guys in here tonight. Our largest race ever had 30 drivers attempted to make a 20-car field. What recommendations would you give a smaller league that's either just starting out or has been around for a long time, to be able to have bring new members in through Grid Finder?
Well, I wouldn't presume to give a community that's been established for 17 years, like yourself, any advice whatsoever. However, what I have seen is that community is key, right? So you can have the best race calendar and the fanciest overlays on your stream and all the premium features on your Twitch channel that you like. But if you don't harbor a friendly community of people that actually like what they're doing, you're not going to last. So sim racing leagues seem to spread quite quickly by word of mouth. So if you are creating a community where people feel welcome and they feel like they've all got a chance of getting on a podium at some point because you're mixing up the field and you're being creative with what you're doing, then those racers are going to recommend your community to other people. So again, I feel like I am not well placed to give you guys advice because you're so well established. But for any community that was just starting up, I would say don't try and grow too quickly. Try and create a real deep, genuine sense of community with the small grid that you have to start with before trying to branch out to either other splits, other tiers, or even other sims or simply other gaming platforms.
Tom, it's just been a neat deal watching your deal grow there at Grid Finder. Tell people how they can find you and how they can find their place on the grid.
Okay, well, if you are looking for a sim racing league to join, then you just have to go to www.grid-finder.com. Um, Straight away, one of the big changes we've made from the old site to the new site is on the homepage now, you see the search straight away. So you don't need to go anywhere else. The homepage will have the search at the top of it. Um, if you like, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all under the handle Grid Finder, where we're posting updates about leagues. So what's happening in the communities that we know of, anything exciting or different or charitable that's happening, we like to post about. And then whenever there's an update to the website or something new that we want to bring to the community or just an idea we want to float, then if you follow us on there, then you'll see it all first.
Now, I'm going to do a little self promotion here because I know you guys have this in your Discord channel. But I would like to know, how does somebody go about finding a Grid Finder approved league like Supers is?
Oh, okay. So if you're looking for an approved league, so an approved league, for those who don't know, is essentially a league that has applied to Grid Finder for what we call approved status. So approved status just means that you've spent the time on putting in an application form, um, which is half the battle. A lot of people will get to that application form and go, no, not for me, and that says a lot about the commitment that they're putting into their league. So they won't end up with the badge. But the idea is you go through an application form which gives us, and when I say us, I mean me, Chris, and a panel of 10 other Grid Finder approved league owners that are all in the Discord, gives us an idea of what you do, how you run your league, how comprehensive your rule sets are, what you do to stream it and to share it and to create a sense of community. Um, these judges will kind of slip into your Discord and have a look around and just have a little listen for a few weeks. And then if at the end of it they all come back to us and say, yep, this is a good league, this is a league that we'd recommend and a league that we'd be happy to put the Grid Finder stamp on, then we get in contact and we say your application's been successful, like Supers, and then you appear at the top of the listings above everyone else. So you haven't paid for that. Nobody pays for Grid Finder approved. It's not a pay to win system. It's all done on merit. So yeah, if you want to find them, then just put in the search that you would put in ordinarily, but look for the Grid Finder approved badge, which you can see on the screen right now.
Tom, been wonderful having you. Slim Jim 355 says it's a very cool interview. He's pretty happy to hear you. He does some broadcasting on his own, and I think he's going to be checking out Grid Finder to find his own racing league. So yeah, anybody can find their place on the grid through gridfinder.com, and we're happy to have you, man. If you're not too tired, you're not falling asleep at the switch, we'd love to have you stick around, say hi to the guys, and maybe even give them the call to the cars for the start of our 16th annual Jim Shampine Memorial. Feel free to do that, and I know it's early over there in England, and but we'd love to have you. Just been a real pleasure having you on the broadcast here.
Great, thank you. Thanks for inviting me on. It is genuinely an honor. I know you say that you consider yourselves a small league, but I think having been established and running so consistently for 17 years, I would say that you're a very unique and very special league. So it's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the kind words, Tom. Tom Bunten from Grid Finder, the founder of Grid Finder. You can check him out at grid-finder.com. we're excited to be a Grid Finder approved sim racing league. Well, before we take a quick break, we want to let everybody know that tonight, as has been the case for several years now through the Jim Shampine Memorial, we support families fighting flu because of Jim Shampine's grandson, Joseph Murata, who passed away from the H1N1 influenza because the vaccine was not available in his community at that time in 2009. Just 5 years old, the grandson of the great Jim Shampine. Jimmy never knew his grandson. It's his daughter's son, and is married to Joseph Murata, who is also the son of the famed New York racing announcer Joe Murata. He developed a sniffle and a cough and was put in the hospital and went back and forth and ended up passing away of influenza. And I know with the pandemic on everybody's mind, some of the focus has been moved away from just the regular flu, if there is such a thing, but it still kills a lot of people. And you can learn more about the Murata family when you go to familiesfightingflu.org and then just type in the search box Murata, that's Marrota, and you can learn more about Joseph and the Murata family and their loss. And you can also find out how to support Families Fighting Flu with a donation of any kind to help them, help families that need to get the influenza shots and get their children vaccinated. We'd love to have you check it out, and we just want to make sure everybody's aware of the fact that we've been talking a lot about a pandemic, but the flu kills people every day as well. So go to familiesfightingflu.org. Learn more about how you can support those people. We're going to take a quick 1-minute break, and when we come back, we're going to tell you who Jim Shampine was, and we're going to run our 12-lap B main for the drivers that did not qualify in the Elite 8. Well, Jim Shampine's number was number 8, so we took the fastest 8 qualifiers and locked them into the feature tonight. You don't want to go anywhere, because coming right back, you're going to learn about the great innovator, wonderful human being, and all-time winner at Oswego Speedway, the late, great Jim Shampine. You're enjoying live Supermodified Sim Racing, the finest, on the SUPRS Broadcasting Network.